What's up everyone, B the Installer here. I have two great TVs to compare today. We have the Sony X90K over there, which is a great full array local dimming LED TV. And on this side over here, we have the Sony X95K, which is their first mini LED 4K TV. So I'm gonna show you the similarities of these two TVs and then the differences and let you guys decide based on your room conditions and viewing experiences and costs why you'd get one versus the other. So make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. And question for the day, will you consider either one of these TVs or both? Maybe that's why you're watching this video. Let me know in the comments which TV you choose and why. So physically speaking, these two TVs look pretty similar from the front and the back with small differences. Of course, the X95K is a mini LED, but it's not necessarily any thinner than the X90K that's not a mini LED. Although there are some features once we talk about the quality of the TVs that differentiate the two. But the X90K only has one positioning for the feet, which is wide and a low profile stance. While the X95K has a narrow stance and a wide stance, and then in the wide stance you can also raise up the TV in order to sneak a soundbar underneath. And on the back of the TVs, both of them have 4 HDMI inputs. 2 of them are HDMI 2.1, which means they can game with 4K at 120 frames per second. And one of those 2 ports is the eARC port that you'd send sound out to a soundbar or speaker system. Then besides those 4 HDMIs, you have your basic optical and landline, and both of the TVs have a 300 by 300 millimeter VESA pattern, and they both have side firing tweeters, but the X95K has larger speakers on the back and I think overall has a bit better sound. The back of the X95K also comes with 6 different panels to cover up the HDMI ports and the feet position, and in general just looks a little cooler, but you know, like who really looks at the back of your TV since it's normally on a stand against the wall or on the wall. Both TVs have the exact same remote, which is a newer Sony remote. It's a little bit smaller, it no longer has number buttons on it, still has your up, down, left, right, input, a home button, back button, volume channel, all the important buttons and a few different apps down at the bottom. But it's definitely nice that this remote is smaller so that you don't have to slide your hand all the way at the top to press the power button on and then slide it all the way back down to manipulate buttons. So I'm a big fan of this remote. I wish it had the backlight, but I believe the backlight is only available on the A95K QD OLED and the Z9K 8K TV. So let's get back to the TV so we can show you some different content. The first sort of content that we want to watch, because it's probably the most common for someone buying these sort of TVs, is just your typical cable, sports, movies in SDR, which is standard dynamic range, things that you're gonna get from your cable box. I like to use YouTube TV because that's what we use, and also it gives us an opportunity to see how good each of these TVs can upscale and handle motion. And sports is something that most people would watch on these sort of TVs. So things to think about when watching SDR or just watching sports in general are your room conditions and the brightness of the TV and contrast of the TV, things like this. And if you had to compare these two TVs in a typical room that doesn't have a ton of windows behind you, you'd probably be good with either. The X95K has better anti-reflective coating and is brighter in SDR, while the X90K on the left has better contrast, and in a regularly lit room or darker room, the better contrast is a great substitute for lack of brightness sometimes, especially since you can get the TV on the left for a lower price. So here you can see the differences in the anti-reflective properties. The Sony X95K on the right has that rainbow effect, but you can see it really knocks down this light a lot better. And the X90K on the left, not so good. And later on, we'll show you both TVs maxed out with a bunch of light in the background so you can make your decision on if your room would need one TV or the other. With regards to the motion and upscaling, the good news is that both these TVs share the same XR processor. In fact, they're very good at upscaling. The XR processor is also known to have very good motion, especially with these LED or mini LED type TVs. So I feel like both TVs can really upscale content very effectively, and I think that the motion settings are very easy to dial in depending on how you like it to look. So now that we've looked at all this SDR content, let's get into the HDR movies. But first I want to say thanks to Harry's for sponsoring this video. As someone who's on camera all the time, I always like to make sure I've got a clean shave before I step on the screen. So when Harry's reached out to sponsor today's video, I knew it would be a perfect match. Their starter set has everything you need in one convenient package shipped straight to your front door. You get their awesome 5-blade razor with a weighted handle, a blade cover, and foaming shave gel. I love the foaming shave gel because with ingredients like aloe and hyaluronic acid, it feels great on even sensitive skin for a cool, comfortable shave. They've also got a new two-toned handle design made with 50% recycled plastic, with deeper grooves for improved grip. And I really like the look of this blue ocean color. And with their premium blades that are manufactured in Harry's own factory in Germany, you get a close, comfortable, and smooth shave every time. Best of all, Harry's has fair price razors for everyone, so no outrageous price tags, just premium quality at an affordable price. If that sounds good to you, you can redeem your own starter set for just $3 when you go to harrys.com/installer and start shaving with Harry's today. So we're in HDR now and we're watching Encanto, which is a movie that we've used in the past in order to show really bright and vibrant animated scenes, but also show you scenes that challenge different TVs with regards to the shadow detail. And I have to say that both of these TVs are great for HDR. The X95K on the right is extremely bright and vibrant, and I really have no complaints when watching HDR in full screen. And even the X90K on the left, which lacks a bit of brightness when compared to the X95K, still is extremely bright and vibrant, and in most rooms you would be very happy with it, much more so than something like the Hisense projector that we did, where it was significantly dimmer than a bright QLED. So you're not going to be complaining about either one of these TVs' brightness and HDR. Again, motion control is amazing. You can get this TV exactly to your likings with regards to the motion, and I really enjoy watching either of these Sonys in HDR. Now, if you go over to an HDR movie that has subtitles, you'll notice that there is a bit of blooming on both of these TVs. The contrast on the X90K is a little bit better and it's not quite as bright, but there's definitely blooming there. I believe there's only 60 dimming zones on this TV on the left, and on the right, the mini LED TV has around 300 dimming zones. But it's a lot brighter and I still see similar blooming. So it's not like the mini LED has eliminated that blooming. It did take Samsung a couple years to get theirs under control in a manner. So I think that as time goes on, the X95K or the next version will improve its local dimming. But overall, I think Sony is happy with the blooming levels because they're getting such bright TVs. But you'd expect a mini LED to perform better probably than this X95K does with regards to that blooming control. Since we looked at the blooming control, let's look at a couple other tests that we normally do when comparing or showing different TVs. Here we have the infamous ModernWise dirty screen test that shows you the light uniformity coming through the panel. And you can see that the X90K on the left is a little worse with regards to this test than the X95K on the right. The mini LED on the right seems to have a generally cleaner panel, even though it has a little bit of vignetting in the corners, while the X90K on the left is a little bit more blotchy in general and definitely has stronger vignetting in the corners. Now this can display differently from panel to panel, so your TV might not be as bad as either one of these or as good as either one of these. You never know. But typically Sony TVs perform better in this test than Samsung QLEDs, for example. So I would be pretty happy with the X95K on the right, but the X90K on the left might be borderline returnable. I may not be happy with it because if you're watching sports or movies that pan left to right, or if you're playing video games that go left or right off of center, you will probably notice a little bit of that dirty screen in the background, as you can see if you keep your eyes on the hockey player here. Here we actually put on a blooming test where you can see different patterns go around the screen and how it lights up the different panels depending on how many dimming zones they have. But really what I wanted to show you with this is the anti-reflective properties of the screen, because it's pretty apparent to me that the X95K on the right is really better at knocking down ambient light in the room. And the X90K on the left isn't as good. It has a more matte-like finish or semi-gloss finish. And when you throw a light on, you can really see the differences. I mean, the only downside of the X95K is that you have a bit of that rainbow effect that goes across the screen to disperse that light, but really you can tell that the X90K is not as good as knocking down that reflection. So when you're watching movies or shows in a dark room, you have to let us know which one of these is more acceptable to you. Is it better that the X95K mini LED knocks that light down and has it in that rainbow effect, or would you prefer to avoid that rainbow effect and just have have brighter reflections. So let me know in the comments which one of these two is more acceptable. But enough with the testing, let's get into gaming. So now we're into gaming and we're playing Warzone at 4K at 120 with VRR engaged. And that's something that you didn't always have with these Sony TVs. There had only been recent firmware updates to give you VRR or variable refresh rate when playing games in 4K 120. Then there was an even more recent update to allow you to have VRR and also dimming control. So if you don't have that firmware update, make sure you get it so that it gives you the opportunity to play 4K 120 with VRR and dimming control. So Sony's finally caught up. Again, it's not perfect. They don't have 4 inputs that have 4K at 120, but unless you're someone that has an Xbox Series X, a PS5, and a gaming computer, and you need to connect to a soundbar or a stereo, I think these TVs are fantastic for gaming. But, you know, I have all those things, so maybe it's important for a lot of other people that are big gamers. You guys will have to let me know in the comments. But overall, with these Sony TVs, there's plenty of brightness, decent contrast, quick and responsive gaming, and a lot of detail in the shadows to make it an overall enjoyable gaming experience. Okay, so how do you make the decision on which one of these TVs to get? First of all, there's a significant price difference. When filming this video, the X90K is $1,500 and the X95K is a full $1,000 more at $2,500. And I'll tell you that it would be tough for me to target a 65-inch TV for more than $2,000. So I would probably recommend the X90K for most people, as long as you don't have a super bright room and you can control the ambient light in that room. It does have better overall contrast, and to be honest, the dimming control on these two TVs is fairly similar, even though the mini LED X95K is supposed to be better with over 300 dimming zones. I think the X90K would be a great TV for those people who are gamers, that maybe it's in a bedroom or in a darker room where you're really not too concerned about those anti-reflective properties we're talking about. And the brightness on the X90K, which is great for TV and gaming, is fantastic, and I think you'd be just fine. And the people that are going to want to get the X95K are those that primarily watch bright movies or in a bright room. If you're someone that wants a great flagship TV, I think it might be worth the upgrade to the X95K, the mini LED, more dimming zones, brighter TV, better anti-reflective properties. And yes, you're going to pay a little bit more, but hopefully around the holidays, you can get a discount on either one of these TVs and make it a little bit more digestible because the price will eventually be lower. Let's cross our fingers on that. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are you going to get one of these two TVs? If so, let me know why. If you're going to opt for a different TV, maybe an LG or a Samsung or maybe even a TCL or Hisense, let me know in the comments as well and your reasoning so that it can help other buyers make a more informed decision. Make sure you guys smash the like button on the way out. I really appreciate it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and just like that, you can be the installer. And don't forget to go down in the link in the description for Harry's and get your $3 starter set right now. Click on it. Do it.